an actual Thai part of Bangkok. I never saw. If you name 10 things touristy in Bangkok, I have seen none of them.
You learned some Thai, which I assume it's not an easy language.
You can't show up and be like, well, I'm not going to push. Okay, you're never leaving.
Street food in Bangkok or a burger in San Francisco?
I have 2 feet that in America are called feet, and that's all they are. In Thailand, my feet are like weapons of offending people.
Speaking Thai fluently or mastering the art of Thai cooking?
So after a while, it's a really fun vacation because you're allowed to stare at strangers.
Welcome to this new episode of Expat Experts. Today, we have a fascinating guest with us, Mike Oppenheim. Mike is a writer, musician, and a podcast host who has spent years navigating life between the US and Thailand. Unlike most experts who either retire in Thailand or pass through as tourists, Mike had a deeply personal connection to the country, having been married to a Thai American and spending significant time in both Hua Hin and Bangkok. Today, we will dive into his unique experience, cultural surprises, and life lessons he took from Thailand. So sit back, relax, and let's explore this expat experience together. So welcome to a new episode of Expat Experts. Today, we will dive into a unique experience. It's a little bit of cultural surprises, but also some perspective from someone who lived in Thailand and did it as a local a little bit, not as a tourist spot with a family in there. So first of all, thanks a lot, Mike, for accepting the invitation and for being here today. I don't know. Without further ado, I would just like go directly into ask you how did you arrive to Thailand? What was motivation behind it? What is your story? Like, where do you come from, and how did you arrive to live in Thailand? You're back in the US though now. I think
I am now.
Okay. So yeah, from the beginning, you're originally from US, correct?
So I was born in New York City, the United States, but by the time I was 3, I was living in the San Francisco area of California. My parents are extensive travelers from before I was born, so they definitely gave me the travel bug as a kid. My first time abroad was to Athens, Greece. I was 12, turning 13, and it was life-changing. Before that, I'd only been to Mexico, which Americans don't really call going abroad because it's just like, especially in California, it's not a long trip. So I'd been to Mexico like 10 times. I spoke some Spanish because of my mom is Cuban. So I had like familiarity with like differences, but the trip to Greece blew my mind. It was just incredible. We went to Istanbul after, and then we came home. So I got to see just the city of Istanbul, but that representation of Turkish culture. But in Greece, we traveled with a local celebrity. She was like a talk show host. It was popular in Greece at the time in the 90s. And she took us to Corfu, but then she took us to a public island that is only for like real Greek people. It's not like a place Americans even know about. And don't get me wrong, maybe now it's super popular. I don't know anything. This is 1992. But in 1992, I got to live.
You remember the name of the island?
I have asked so many times if I could find it, but I don't remember. I know it's near enough to Corfu that it's like within an hour's ferry ride from Corfu. I can tell you that much. So. I would love to find it out though, because we have email and stuff. I will find out and let you know for sure. I don't think I can find out in the time we're doing this podcast, but I actually didn't even think I was going to talk about this. But it is important to understand why I went to Thailand, which is to say, while I liked Istanbul and I liked Athens and Corfu, the trip to the island is what sold me on traveling. It was incredible to be in a real microculture, and most Greek people speak enough English that as a 12, 13-year-old, it was very easy. I would go in and order these like little 10-minute eggs. I'd sit with all these old Greek men in the morning and they'd have coffee. And I would just sit there like wide-eyed, indulging in the experience of everyone knows I'm a foreigner, but they don't care because there's not a lot of other foreigners. So that's a precursor to when I got older, I started traveling all over, especially Europe. And my strongest desire was to see all of South America, but for financial reasons, and especially politically, when I was coming of age, it wasn't like the safest place to go at my age and to do like what I want to do, which was a car trip because of banditos. So it wasn't that you can't go like fly to Buenos Aires, fly to these places, but I wanted to do like a drive through Central America into South America. And I said I wasn't really interested in Asia, only to point out how weird it is that I ended up living in Thailand, a famous Asian city. So what happened was I was in graduate school in a language program, and I was an ESL teacher. I taught adults English as a second language in America. So I taught over 100 language groups, people from over 100 countries, and I did it 5 days a week for 9 years with about 6 days off a year. It was an incredible experience. I've met and interacted. At one point in my life, I was spending more time with people who don't speak English in America than people who speak English in America. It was a very weird experience. And all throughout that, I was courting and falling in love with a US citizen who was raised in Thailand by her Thai parents. She looks Thai, she is Thai, but she was born in America and she had full citizenship, and she was also a teacher. So we were getting along and working together, and we ended up falling in love and getting married. And that's why I lived in Thailand. She wanted to live in Thailand. I wanted to live in America. She also wanted to live in America. I didn't mind living in Thailand, but I didn't want to only live there. So we started doing these experimental trips. We do like a month at a time, then 3 months, then 6 months. And when I would travel with her and live there, we were in Bangkok for most of it, but in like an actual Thai part of Bangkok. I never saw, if you name 10 things touristy in Bangkok, I have seen none of them. I have never done like a white American tourist trip to Thailand. I also, same with Phuket. Like, I can't tell you what these popular destinations are like. I can only talk about Hua Hin and the parts of Bangkok I was in, but I was immersed. I did at one point speak Pidgin Thai, I would say like a 5-year-old. I got pretty advanced. Thai people were surprised by how much I was able to do, but also not like impressed and ready to talk to me like an adult. So, I was I'm not bragging is what I'm trying to say, but that's most of what I want to talk about today is culture shock and how hard it is to try to belong, feel like you never belong. And even with a family who speaks some English, they would break into Thai whenever they felt like it. They would literally talk about me in Thai. I could tell they were talking about me. I knew enough pronouns and words. It wasn't even like they were saying mean things. It was just, why would we talk in English, which slows us down? So it was like that constant feeling of frustration where you want to take part in an adult conversation. You feel like, for Americans watching, you feel like the kid at the Thanksgiving kids table. Like, you feel like no matter where you go, like, you're just being told, like, you go over here where it's safe. We'll bring you food. We'll bring you water. If you need something, kind of like make a motion. And so that's, I would say that's a good introduction to why I was in Thailand. And so that was a period of 3.5 years where I was living on and off in Thailand. And the longest, like I said, was about 6 months.
Yeah, it's really interesting because at the end nowadays, like what you get from Thailand, no, like the images that you get from Thailand, especially now, I don't know back then. I assume it has been always a super touristic destination at the end, if not the most touristic place in South Asia, probably. And now this whole, since some years, you also see this whole bunch of digital nomads living there, but not being really connected to probably what is the real Thai experience, or like being a local in there, no? But in the way that you say it, also you had difficulties, even though you were having the option of like being part of a family and being in a non-touristic area, more like a local spot in Bangkok, as you said. It was difficult for you, I assume, like the connection with the people. It's not only the language, it's also like they try to protect you a little bit, maybe, or how was your first impressions when you arrived there? Like,
that's a really I mean, I should full disclosure, I am divorced from the woman I married. We do not talk anymore. We have a son who we share, and it's not a great situation. I'm not going to get into it because it's not there's no point to it, and I hold no animosity. Her family was always fine with me, but they are I think my son would be okay with him watching this someday and hearing this. They're weird. They're not normal Thai people. People in Thailand would tell me that. They would tell me that about themselves. They were most Thai people are extremely social, and they were not very social. So they're very normal in the Thai tradition of being family oriented and having a large family and always being welcome. But they were not. There's a big class divide in Thailand, and they were on one side of it, and their side. This I don't mind saying because it's my opinion. They were on a political side I would not be on if I lived in Thailand. So, like, as a U.S. citizen who's dealing with the political stuff going on here, which everyone knows what I'm alluding to, I would not have been on the side her parents were on in Thailand, which was a similar side as the side I'm also not on in America, which is preserving wealth and class and like keeping that division pretty hard. And for those of you who understand Thailand and like the history of it, I was there in 2013 to 16. So it's after they had a prime minister get caught for bribing the public. He was thrown out. And so it was like very hard as an American because The person they threw out was a scumbag. The person they replaced him with was a scumbag. This actually, I was going to say this at the very end, but I will bring it up now because I think it's important. It's a kingdom. So I was living in a kingdom, which is not what you think when you hear an American talk about a kingdom. It was not like, the England has a figurehead named Queen Elizabeth. No, no, no. Their king had real power, and you stand up and you like pray to him, and it's very different as an American. There's no free speech, none whatsoever. So to go back to what you said, they weren't protecting me, but they were like very dismissive of like if I asked a question, anything that even came close to politics, they would go, "We don't talk about that." Like no matter what, like never. I couldn't get one word. My wife, she'd talk about it like all as much as I wanted, but she wasn't politically educated, nor did she care. She had like no concern. She was raised in a class where that's like not her job. It has nothing to do with sexism. She just didn't care. So they had servants who were the kind of people I would normally get along with and like want to know, but they were not allowed to talk to me either for a different reason about that kind of stuff. And so like at restaurants they would order for me, but that was actually awesome. Like the best. Like we go to Hua Hin and they would order like off the menu things that only Thai people know how to ask for. They never once said like make it not spicy for the the gaijin, the like the white guy, the what do they call us? Anyway, it'll come to me. Or not papaya, but there's a fruit that's white, and that's what they called us.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
makes sense.
Which is also funny. I do like to bring this up because I think Europeans and Americans have this idea of like nobility and cultural respect. Go live in an Asian country, and you will see no cultural respect for the European or Western cultures, but not in a mean way. Just in a like, it's pretty normal to be dismissive of the other, and like I think it would do better for Western people to understand that when they're dealing with Asian countries and other countries, because I think they expect us to have dictators and leaders who are strong. That's like a part of most Asian cultures. So it's not that they like it, but they expect it. And so like when you come in and you're like, everyone share your feelings, let's like talk, that doesn't like work. So as far as protecting me and how that went, it was more like just you do what you want, but don't break any rules that would embarrass us. Like that's the best way I could say it.
Okay. So there is a lot of a strong sense of like rules and ways of doing that are not only laws, but they are also cultural related to how Thai people does things.
Yeah, I even had a note to talk to you about feet, just how hard that was. Just dealing with like, I have 2 feet that in America are called feet, and that's all they are. In Thailand, my feet are like weapons of offending people. They're like these instruments that you need to be conscientious of at all times, and like where you place them, what direction they face. If you need to know the age of people in a room so that your feet aren't like offending the older people. And if like there's all old people, you might want to like tuck them. Like there's just like, and no one's going to tell you these things. They're just going to say, I really wish I could remember the word they called white people, because it was what I was called all the time. It'll come to me, but they would just say like, oh, he's that, and like that's why he's doing it. But it wasn't like that's okay. It was like that's really rude. He didn't take the time to learn our culture, and so I did take the time. But the first time I didn't point my feet the right way is when I started learning all that. Like,
learning by finger pointing at you, probably.
Yeah.
I see. You said something curious that's a funny thing. Like everything started with the trip in Greece and an island, no, for yourself, and like trying to, like it triggered. Also, you said like your parents were well traveled, which I think it's something that also marks a lot. If you travel with your parents when you're a child, and then you start sparkling this curiosity of seeing. Were you though interested in living abroad, like, or it was, oh, I want to travel and like be a tourist and discover as many places as you want to discover, but was it an objective in your life to be living abroad, really? Like at the end it happened, but
a very strong one. And I don't have regrets, and I don't want to go back. I have a beautiful family. I have 3 children, 2 with my wife and 1 with the woman we were talking about, and I love them. and I'm glad that my life worked out the way it did. But I did always want to live in a foreign country, and now that I've done it, I still would want to do it if I was young, but I would not want to do it at my current age or older because um, it's when you're young, it's easier to be alone and deal with the feelings of loneliness, I think. Whereas when you're older, you just know how much that sucks and you don't want to so it would be much harder to move somewhere. And also, if I moved somewhere with my wife who speaks English, we wouldn't be living in a foreign country. We would both be talking to each other in English all the time, going out and feeling like these people don't get us. It'd be it's not. I've never heard a good story of a couple who moves to another country in that way. You have to really. It's a young person's move, in my opinion. So, but I did. I always wanted to live in a foreign country. I wanted it to be a Spanish-speaking country because I had a leg up on that because I grew up listening to my relatives, so I had a good ear for Spanish. And also, I'm attracted to the Latin American vibe, that kind of my mom is part Cuban and from Tampa, Florida, so I just kind of like the Spanish. It's from Spain, but I like that architecture, that vibe. I don't. I never had a specific country, but I know that was my dream. And then I've spent a ton of time because of the school I worked for. They would fly me to London a lot in England, and I would go to Ireland and other English-speaking countries, Canada, and that would. That sounds annoying.
Just like Mike described, living abroad, especially in places like Thailand, means navigating new cultures, new climates, and new cities. And between trains, planes, and tuk-tuks, your luggage needs to step up. And that's why lately I've been using the Level 8 Luggage luminous textured carry-on. It's elegant, built to last, and it rolls smoothly even through the less than ideal streets of all cities or the busy terminals of Bangkok or Frankfurt. And I honestly don't want to go back to anything else. But they don't stop at carry-ons. Level 8's range includes check-in luggage, zipper-free designs, backpacks, and even travel organizers, all tailored for anyone living the expat lifestyle. So, ready to elevate your journey? Go to the link in the description and use the code Level8Expat10 to get a 10% discount on your next suitcase. You deserve luggage that makes travel less of a burden. Travel safe, travel well, and let's continue with the episode. Did you consider at some point staying more permanently in Thailand without this back and forward? I mean, you increased, you start with 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, whatever. It was a moment where you were saying, "Oh, maybe I live here for rest of your life or not."
So we got married in 2013, the very end of it. It was literally December of 2013, and we had a plan. We had an agreement, my wife and I. We were going to move to Thailand permanently in 2019. So what happened was we started going to Thailand 2014, 2015, 2016. By the time 2016 rolled around, she started hating living in Thailand.
Okay.
So it was but she also didn't like living in America more. So, I mean, this is something I will admit about my divorce. I didn't live with a happy person. She didn't like Thailand. She didn't like America. And it started to become obvious to me that her problem was being happy, not the location is what makes you unhappy. And I could get into this more, but it's not important. But I do think people should consider this, that if you're unhappy, moving is never going to make you happy. A better person coming in or out isn't really going to help. It's happiness is a condition you remind yourself of. You have to look at life differently. You have to learn your own personality and brains and moods, and you have to forgive yourself when you have days where you hate everything. You just have to that's a huge part of growing up. I'm in my 40s and now I get it. There's just days where I'm not going to wake up and I don't feel like being a human. And so with that said, I actually started to really enjoy the experience, and I was getting ready to move there, but I'm not going to lie. I felt like I was being told where to move, told how to live, because she wanted to live an upper class life in Thailand. And I don't I will just say this, it's rude, but I don't really like hanging out with rich people in any country. I just don't. It doesn't mean I don't like wealth. I don't like money, and I don't respect people who have money. But there is a type of person who self-identifies as rich. I don't want to be around them. This family would just point out how expensive things were. They would tell me how poor other people were. We would drive through the countryside and they would say oh, those poor people. And I would look at them and say, oh, those people who have no rights, no vote, and like who are second class citizens working for a king. Like my brain is going like American all over. So yes, I did want to live there longer, and I did, and I would. Thailand is a really cool country and culture. Speaking the language opened up a huge, wide window of like opportunity. It's called the land of smiles, and it's not fake. And if you're an American and you love smiling, which is what we're famous for, like British people don't smile, Canadians don't smile as much as we do, Australians come close, but it's like we are famous. Hate us as much as you want, but we smile a lot and we kind of need it. Thailand is your place. It is the only Asian country where it's appropriate and nice and rewarded to smile at others. And it's like, it is a great feeling. It really is a warm culture. They love making fun of themselves and you, which I love. It's a very like sense of humor driven culture. And would say again, at the risk of even my future flights there and going there, you do have to take your American First Amendment right to speech and like all that and just throw that away. If you're going to Thailand, that is a country that will throw you in jail, and they don't need to call a lawyer and they don't need to tell your family. Like you need to like really get that through your head if you're going to Thailand. I would just say that to any young American.
That makes sense. I mean, that happens in a lot of places, actually. So
I mean,
it's not only Thailand.
Yeah. Well, that's what, going back to my experience in the school, that was what I would really learn, that Americans are full of warm naivety. Like, it's a very, like, loving naivety, and it gets mistaken for being stupid and idiot and ignorant. It's actually a cultural thing that we, like, say, like, assume the best out of people, put your hand out when you meet someone, smile, get to know them. Like, we just have this built in, and yeah, and so Americans would push back a lot from me and say like, that's not true, Koreans wouldn't say that about, and I'm like, no, you don't get it. Like, all these countries don't like immigration, all of them. They don't want you there. They have very strict laws. Thailand doesn't even allow it. They have an O visa for adults over 55, but I had no opportunity for citizenship, never, not once. No, I am not welcome. I am not allowed to join their culture ever. And I'm not saying this in an anti-immigration sense. I'm just saying Americans have a really weird idea of like Statue of Liberty, open your arms. Like it is, yeah, as you know, and as you just said. So,
you maybe moving a little bit to the language barrier part, because you said that you learned some Thai, which I assume it's not an easy language to learn at all.
Yeah.
How was that experience? How much time did it take? How did you do it? Is it easy to use it at all? I don't know the language at all, actually. So, how was the experience for you with the language?
Yeah, so I speak French and I speak Spanish at a level of like cultural fluency is what I call it. Able to get a by. I could move to France tomorrow and no one would want to have like a deep conversation with me, but I would have no problem getting groceries. I could talk to a police officer if I did something wrong. Same with Spanish, but a little lower. Thai, as someone who studied language and taught language, so Thai is a tonal language, much like Chinese and Vietnamese. Unlike Chinese, which has 4 tones, and unlike Vietnamese, which has 6, Thai has 5. So the hardest part for me, and what will always be the hardest, is hearing and saying tones correctly, because the difference between like white and the difference between mountain is a tone. It's not like the word. So in Spanish, you can just memorize like como, it means how. And if you say como, there's only one O sound, O. That's Spanish. Spanish has 5 vowel sounds. So when you study languages, you look at phonemes, sounds. So English has 41 phonemes. We use 40 because we don't make the whom sound anymore, but we had 41 for most years. I forget how many Italian has and Greek, but every language has a set number of phonemes. Thai has 72 phonemes and multiple characters that make the same sound, but depending on the king's rules for writing. So the writing system is almost impossible to like master quickly. Reading is really hard. They don't separate words with spaces. And then you ask questions by putting a question marker tone at the end. So you don't know if it's a question until you hear the very last word. But if you study language, humans don't hear words in orders. We hear like a block and then our brain like sorts it out. So that's why it works. So I'm trying to explain to people who do learn languages and don't learn languages at the same time. So if you're learning a language, what's important is that you do not translate. that does not mean you're learning a language. So if you go, I am hungry, and then you go, yo tengo hambre, like that's not actually speaking Spanish. That's translating from your native language into another language and then speaking it. To speak Spanish correctly, you have to think yo tengo hambre. Like you have to think the sentence. So I never got like good at the thinking Thai part, but I got very good at like memorizing words. I would carry these flashcards around and I would study them relentlessly. And at one point I knew 1,000 Thai words like well, like I could really get them out. And if I said them 5 times, the person could figure out the tone. So my output got high enough that I was actually pretty confident. I was able to like explain who I am, where I'm from, that I have children, that I'm married, that I like sunrises more than sunsets. Like I could get that advanced, you know. I could like talk about like likes and dislikes and things, more or less like you know, issues of like modulation, like changing degrees of how much you like something. So I was getting like pretty good like that. But as far as like going from one language to another, what they study is language A to language B is all you have to know. So there's no correlation between like you speak Italian or you speak Greek or you speak whatever language and then like now you learn languages better. It's just like English and German are incredibly similar, so it's much easier to learn German or English if you speak either. Much easier. If you're an English speaker and you want to learn one foreign language, German, you know? And then if you speak Spanish, obviously Italian or French, like there's no brainer. So knowing Spanish helps me learn French and vice versa. And it confuses me sometimes because they do have like weird not meeting things, you know, but as you know, so Thai is kind of a breath of fresh air because there's no confusion. You're never going to like worry that you said like an English word in Thai or anything like that. But it took 3.5 years to get to a level that I think I could have gotten at in 1 year in Spanish, and it's entirely because of tones. I still have so much trouble with 2 of the tones. They just sound the same to me. It's so hard. There's 5. I can easily get like the 2 really weird ones and I can easily get the main one, but the 3 that are like around the main one, they just all sound the same to me a lot. You also have to get used to speaking like a cartoon character. Like if you want to make a high tonal sound, you have to make a high sound, and that sounds effeminate in English. Like no matter what, you sound like a girl would talk, and that's not how a man would talk. And this is independent of gender and code switching and trans issues. This has nothing to do with that. This has to do with like everyone in America doesn't speak like a little girl would be for a reason, because you adopt like your tone, but that's not true in Thailand. To get the high tone, everyone gets the high tone.
And you need to arrive to that tonality. So it's also required for speaking. It's not that you need to do it, but that's very interesting actually. Like,
yeah.
Maybe one last question before we jump to the next section. I would ask you, what about the day-to-day challenges? Like I assume like the rhythm is another between US and Thailand. Things happen at another speed. And because I don't know, I lived in Germany, I lived in Greece, and between Germany and Greece, for example, things change and it's still Europe, but life in Greece, it's much more calm, much more relaxed. Everything happens, and if it needs to happen, it will happen. While Germany, it's a little bit more like rhythm and structure, or whatever. Maybe not structure, but in the sense like things needs to be promoted to happen. In Greece, everything it's like if it happens, if not. I don't know, how is the day to day like life in Thailand? Is it more like in the relaxed side of it, or it's more like in the hardcore lifestyle?
That's a really good question, and I have to separate Hua Hin and Bangkok again. So Hua Hin is if you're in Thailand, it's famous because it's where the king built his palace. And I forget which king, but I think the most famous king, Chulalongkorn, who went to the West and modernized the Thai government. He brought parliament to it. He's their hero. Their Oxford is named after him. So if you go to Chulalongkorn University in Bangkok, that's like, the #1 school. And he really is cool. I've read a lot about Thai history because that's part of when I decide to learn a language. I think it's equally important to learn the culture along with it, because I was a language teacher and that's how I taught English to people is, well, you got to understand why we say like the cat's out of the bag. Like you can't just teach someone an idiom. You got to like explain it, And so Hua Hin had a tourist vibe to it. It was like a very like, we're here to allow Thai people and Western people to have like an interesting vacation. There's like a big shopping mall and stuff like that. Bangkok is like, we're competing with other cities. We're competing with Tokyo. We're competing with like, the major cities. And it's like an industrial city, and it's the same size as New York. It's 12 million people. It's got a similar amount of like skyscraper. Like it has a very New York City vibe to it. Very. Here's where I would say Thailand is very different from, as I've been to big cities in every European country, I've been to enough that I would say the biggest difference is the approach to food. It's much like food is like really important still. It's very hard to explain this, but like, they're not overweight. It's not the way Americans like overeat and like food is very important to us. It's not like a messaging on TV thing. It's like a real, like, the way you show love, the way you receive love is like food. So like sharing food, ordering in any restaurant or environment and food, like you just order tons of food. You grab as much as you want. It's okay to take like every single one out of like the bowl before anyone else has it, because you just order more. Like it's that didn't change in either city. So I would prefer to talk about that, because that's like a answer to like Thailand. Whereas otherwise, much like America has 50 states, with like, even in a state, you could go to like North California and see how different it is from South California. So I would say that like Bangkok is a big, industrial, smelly, fast, don't cross the street at the wrong time, like motorcycles everywhere, people like bicycling, just like totally reminds me of New York City, totally does not remind me of Tokyo, does not remind me of like clean, like Korean city, like Seoul, like that. Eastern Asia is very different from, I would say, like Thailand and Vietnam are much more similar. I have not been to China, but I know enough to know that it's, a different kind of place. So I always warn people, like, you already said it. You said South Asia. Like, most people who travel to Asia know to start referring to parts of it. There's no Asian monoculture. So Thai, what separates them, I would say, is a sense of humor, which in turn affects like the way you share food and buy food and talk about food, which in turn affects like even the way you drive and like deal with like car accidents and things like that. But Bangkok had like a pace that was very Western to me, like very like, move, go where you're going, very like economically driven, buy, lots of stores. Yeah.
Cool. Sounds very interesting. I need to go. I've never been, and it's one of the places that I have in the list.
The food is the reason to go. I won't lie. Just like Thai food is the best. It's like amazing. Yeah,
I know. That's. I think there is a question from one of the audience later talking about food, so we will get into that a little bit more. So maybe just to close this first part,
sure.
What would be the hack advice that you would give to someone who is willing to move to Thailand, not as a tourist, but really going there on the first place? Like, what is the number one advice that you will give? You already give some tips, so that's very nice. But what should you recommend to someone who is willing to move as a real move to Thailand?
I would recommend go slow, go easy, and don't expect fast friendships. It's not like our cultures. You don't make fast friendships. You don't trust as quick. You get the iceberg theory is true in every country, in my opinion. But in Thailand, I warn people that getting to know people and asking personal questions is below the iceberg. And that's not below the iceberg in a lot of other countries. So it would be okay for me to ask you, like, are you married? Have you been married? But like, if you give me no indication that you want to talk about marriage, I should shut up in Thailand. Like, I should not ask that question in the first place. And I can ask you about your favorite foods and very like superficial things, but no one wants to have a serious conversation. It's dangerous to talk about politics. So that would be my first warning, is like, you're not going to go to Thailand and have like you're not going to meet your best friend and then start traveling the country with them. And even with relationships, I would caution you that they're in like open sex culture in a way that we're not, but that's not an open relationship culture. That's not the same thing. So now I had one partner. I met her in America. So I've never dated in Thailand. I'm not speaking from experience, but I know that part of it well enough from just, and while Bangkok is famous for the sex side and the red lights and all that. It's not what I'm talking about. Just to be clear, I'm talking about the actual, like, there are women in Thailand who fully marry a person who has wealth from the outside to escape their classism. They will happily do that. It's not like weird or out of the question, but I would warn you that you're not getting like a real partner in that situation. You're getting someone who wants like access. You might fall in love. It might work out. I know Americans who brought women back from Thailand and it worked out. I also know a lot who it didn't. My case has nothing in common with that. So, but that would be something I would tell people, is just like, don't expect to get close. Like, I could meet you on a train because we're from like Western cultures, and we could actually get close and end up traveling and exchange home listings, and you could come visit me in Phoenix. Like, that's very possible on a trip to Europe. I would not tell you. I would tell you there's never going to happen in Thailand. Maybe with a guy to a guy. Like, there's like a weird case where it could, but it's not going to be common. So.
Probably someone who has been living abroad also, who is a Thai who lived outside.
Yeah, that's great.
Has a different perspective on that. Yeah, I get it. Well, I would say that with this part closed, a little bit on knowing your story, we can do this second section that I like to call like a little bit of mini games, but it's a little bit more like in a cultural deep dive, and finding funny stories, funny comparisons of between, in your case, USA and Thailand, but also finding a little bit more about myths, culture shocks, etc., that might come. Hey there, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. Remember that the best way to stay tuned with the latest episodes of the podcast is by clicking on subscribe in YouTube and in your favorite audio platform. For extra content and information, follow, like, and comment on our social media and visit our website, expatexpertspodcast.com. Thank you for supporting our podcast, and let's continue with the episode. The first one that I wanted to do with you today, it's this or that. Very easy. I will give you two options, and you need to argument why you would choose that. I think the first one, you already pretty much define it, and I think which option you will choose, but street food in Bangkok or a burger in San Francisco?
Street food in Bangkok every day for the rest of my life, please.
I thought
meat on a stick. I don't even need any sauce. Just any piece of meat on a stick from any stand in Bangkok is better than almost anything I could get in my 6 million population city of Phoenix right now in America.
Crazy. Riding a motorbike in Thailand or driving a car in the US? I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing in that case.
Yeah. Story, which is my grandfather who passed before I was born. He died a heart attack, nothing, but I never got to meet him. He worked in an auto shop. He repaired cars. And he said, I never repaired a motorcycle for someone who lived. So the only thing he told my dad was, you should never ride a motorcycle. And the only thing my dad ever told me is, you should never ride a motorcycle. I love driving, love speeding. I respect the don't drive a motorcycle policy. So I will choose driving in America. But I will also say, I suffer from road rage, and I hate driving in America more than anything. It's the thing I hate the most. So, great question.
Nice. No, I was just thinking on these videos in TikTok and Instagram and all of these people of the beaches with people full of like the covers from going without proper protections in Thailand and falling down with the motorbikes. Yeah. No? So with going with the bikini only, and then you end burnt. Cool. The next one, I don't know if you've been, but Songkran Festival or 4th of July?
Songkran is my ex-wife's least favorite thing in the world, because she hates being sprayed with water. And Songkran is a holiday where children are allowed to spray adults with water, like as much as they want. So I'm going to choose Songkran in Thailand, but out of extreme, like, funny mean, but just like picturing my ex-wife, how much she hated it and would talk about it. Like, she wanted as hard as her only rule for when we lived in Thailand was, can we please not be there the first week of April when Songkran happens? I don't want to be in Thailand when Songkran happens. So it's so funny that you would ask that. Meanwhile, on 4th of July, I'm a dog owner, and it's the worst. Like, our dogs hate fireworks, so I hate the 4th of July in America. These are great. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Songkran. any holiday, like Thailand's a very kid-oriented culture. Very
Really?
children sleep with their parents in the same bed until they're 10 in some families. It's and then this is funny too. At 12, you're like not a kid anymore, and they're like, you grow up. If you're a 10-year-old and you're crying and you're a boy, like your mom will hold you and hug you for like an hour, and then if you're 12, it's like, no, go. So it's like, it's really abrupt. But Songkran is just wonderful because you get to really see how much Thai people will let kids feel joy, which is beautiful. It's beautiful. Really cool.
So this one, I didn't have it write it down, to be honest, but I will put it because you mentioned that you have Spanish or Cuban family, and absolutely then Mexican food from San Francisco probably, and from the area in California, common. So proper Mexican food, spiciness of Thai food or spiciness from Mexican food.
Thai. There's nothing. Indian and Thai are like in competition in my mind. I've had both have made me sweat at this spot on my head. Mm-hmm. So that's like when when you're sweating up here, it's a weird feeling. And in Thai, so my Thai family explained this to me, and I think it's true. I do believe them. Thai food is not why people love Thai food. Sauces is why people love Thai food. So it's like they just understand something about sauces, and they put like very few ingredients in each one, and that's the magic of Thai food. It's very simple. Most Thai dishes have like 5 ingredients. It's not a complicated big procedure with like 35 things. So the spiciness has to do with that because they know how to like slice the pepper, how much to put in. It's like very scientific. But if you go to Thailand and you're like not spicy, like they just like look at you. They're like, well, then you didn't want Thai food. Like, what are you like? They have this papaya salad. Yeah, their salad. This papaya salad that's famous there is like it'll blow your mind. Like you're like, this is a salad. I'm sweating. I'm like covered. Like my armpits are like dense. Like it's crazy. So yeah, Thai.
Cool. Last one. Speaking Thai fluently or mastering the art of Thai cooking?
I think it's easier to master the art of Thai cooking. And I would love to master that. I cook and I love cooking and I'm good at it. And Thai is the one area I never got into because the family I was with had servants, and then when you go to restaurants, the kitchens are in the back. So I've never like seen someone make fresh Thai food. So that actually, you just got me really interested in that.
Nice. I would love to know how to cook proper Thai food also.
Yeah.
I would be on that side also. So I would go to the next minigame. Looking a little bit on the time, I would jump to the Thai superstitions and myths, if they are true or false. I also will combine it a little bit with the previous one, which is if you have any experience or story related to that superstition, if it's a true one, I would love to hear it. But basically, I will throw you a couple of superstitions or myths, and you can tell me if you know for sure that they are true or they are false. There is theoretically a Thai superstition saying that whistling at night invites the ghost into your house.
I've never heard it that specific, but I know that much like Koreans have major issues with fans, Thai people have, and again, when I say Koreans, just for people listening, I'm not talking about like every Korean. I'm just saying the cultural history of Korean culture has a thing with fans, and the number 4. Like these are things you can research. But in Thailand, they like really believe in ghosts and yet never talk about it. But these are true. Like there's definitely this like thing, and one of the most famous American movies is an adaptation of a Thai like horror movie about ghosts. I think it's called Shutter Island or something. But anyway, yeah, they're really into like ghosts, but they don't. Like I said, yeah, you won't meet people and have them start talking about it.
Nice. Pointing at someone with your feet is considered very rude. I think you already talked about this. So.
I mean, I talked about this, and this was I did make a list of things that I can bring up if we have time and you want me to. I made a short list. It's from my travel log, like when I used to like write notes. So I went back through all of them in preparation for this, which thank you, by the way. It was fun. I hadn't done this in years. And I'd forgotten about a lot of them. But yeah, the feet thing was scary. It's like literally scary because it would be like let's say you come from a country where whenever you itch your nose, you do this, like, and then you go to America and they're like, people are just like,
What are you doing?
yeah.
Yes.
And Thai people don't get it. They're not like, oh, this farang, by the way, that's the word for white people, farang, Farang.
Wrong.
This farang doesn't know about feet. No, they don't care. You just gave them the finger. You just like made a gesture that is like vulgar. There's like other ones in Italy I could do. But the point is, that's weird for me. It's not weird. All of any cultural offense is weird if you look at it, isolated. But yeah, it's very true. And it would be the other thing I would warn someone who's moving there is I would say, like, really learn that rule and pay attention to it and take your shoes off when you go in a place and like be really respectful with your feet. Wash your feet. My wife used to wash her feet 3 times a day, every day, even in California where you wear shoes all day.
Cool. I have the last one, and then I let you share a couple of your own, because for sure you have better input than me. So I read that seeing a gecko in the morning, it's bad luck for the rest of the day.
That's weird. I never heard that one. And I don't even remember seeing geckos, but I did see a ton of lizards. They probably are geckos. I'm probably just thinking like too specifically. I don't remember that, but also I just want to reiterate, the family I was with was super weird. They like really just weren't into some of these things. So I would, based on all my interactions with Thai people, of which is more than that family, I would say yes, that's probably true. I would just guess. I would err on the side of guessing yes.
Nice. So yeah, definitely. I think we have some time for you to bring your own ones instead of me finding ones that I found on the internet. So if you have any on your list, I would love to hear them.
Yeah, these are just like things I observed that Americans would find fascinating, and I think most Europeans would. Like, I think we're close enough.
Yeah, sure.
So like I said, I stayed in Hua Hin a lot, which is the King's Vacation Palace.
Mm-hmm.
And what I thought was really weird about Thailand is I saw a movie in Hua Hin and I saw a movie in Bangkok. So I know that this is not like that one theater, but when you go to a movie in Thailand, when you go to a sports event in America, you have to stand and do the national anthem. I'm pretty sure European football clubs do this too. Like, I'm pretty sure, but I don't know for a fact. But in America, it is like a fact that when you go to a game, you're supposed to stand up, put your hand over your heart, and sing, or at least like say the words or pretend you have respect for the flag, and you stare at the flag. So in all Thai movie theaters, there's like a scene where it shows the king on the screen and everyone stands up and you sing the national Thai song. You don't put your hand over your heart because that's not what they do. But that was scary, and weird for me. It was never normal. It never got normal. And I just kept thinking in a very bigoted way, like, I'm not proud of this. You people are brainwashed. But then in America, when I see a bunch of us stand up and sing the stupid national anthem, I'm like, you people are brainwashed. So it's like, that's why I'm saying, like, it's just like their version of the national anthem. Yeah.
Of course.
And then, so that was the most jarring thing for me. The lack of care about the environment isn't like fake or funny to me. Like, they literally don't care. It's not like it's funny to throw trash out the car, and it's funny to like have trash everywhere. And there's a reason that companies sell their plastic and all their crap to Thailand. Like, that country is just like welcoming garbage from around the world, and they're putting it in landfills, and they pay people to like break it with hammers. And again, this is like, look, America is built on sweatshop labor in foreign countries, so it's not like we're any better. I'm a participant in using a laptop made by a company called Apple. I am aware of Psalm, so I'm not like here to lecture anyone, but I will say that I don't throw trash anywhere except in the trash. I pick up other people's trash in America. I am a California raised hippie. I just am. I love like clean oceans. So it was very hard to live in a country that shows you its lack of care and doesn't lie about it. In America, we lie about it. We hide it. We lie. We're just as bad, and we all know it, but they're like, the toxins in the river are like visible. Like, you don't eat fish out of a certain river, like, that kind of stuff. So that's one of the notes. This isn't in most Asian countries, I think, but they have dead chickens for sale all over the streets, and they always have the heads attached. And I always thought that was interesting, just because in America, we don't even call a dead cow. We call it beef. Like, we have like fake words for everything. That's another thing about learning Thai is like, what's the word for beef? What? You mean cow? Like, you just call it cow. You're eating cow. Like, kids know they're eating cow. Like, that's, there's no pork. It's just pig, cow, chicken. So that was a little like
I think
interesting.
these transitions, because in Europe, it depends also where
Yeah.
you go. You always
Yeah.
see with the head and the pork open. At least in Greece, is absolutely normal. For example, if you go to the market, everything will be hanging around. So it's very. I think the Easter you go, the more that animal culture you have, like you see it as a normal thing. Like, okay, you need to eat something, so you buy it, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Well, I typically don't eat meat, and for years I've been this way, but I'm not, I don't tell people about it. I don't advertise it, and I don't care. I'll cook meat for my children. It doesn't, like, I'm not an activist, but I just have personal reasons. But I respect more the culture that shows the dead animal. Like, I want to make that clear to people. Like, I think it's dishonest and unhelpful to pretend that you're not eating a dead animal. I think you should respect that something died and it's to feed you, and that's the only thing I want to say about it. But so I actually love that they do that in Greece. Going quickly through these, but it's interesting coming. So California was the first state in America to ban cigarette smoking outdoors and
Really?
indoors.
Right.
Yeah, and so you can smoke in like certain areas, but it's not allowed near an entrance of a building. There's a lot of rules.
Mhm.
Um, and Thailand, it's just like a smoking culture, and it was just crazy to see like you can't smoke in movie theaters. Like, they have like one rule basically, but it was like very interesting to see adults smoking, holding it down below their waist where kids can like smell it, and like no one would like wave smoke away. People just blowing it everywhere. So that was just interesting because you can see that in movies, but I didn't even grow up in a place where I saw that in the 80s in America. No one moves out of your way ever, and you have to push people, and you have to. It's not a choice. So you can't show up and be like, well, I'm not going to push. Okay, you're never leaving. You'll just be stuck in a shopping mall while everyone goes around you. Like, you need to literally push your way
Go
through
for
people.
it.
That includes children and the elderly. You do not push the elderly or children. You push anyone. If they're in public, they know they're going to get pushed. So you wouldn't let your kid be in public. Like, if you're worried about your kid, you'd hold them up high. And if you're worried about your grandma, you'd leave her in the car. You wouldn't bring her in a packed environment. So that was very hard for me. Space issues are always hard for Americans because we are like, one person in
Used to
one car. Like, yeah, and we're just like, so
big things.
they don't have Amazon, the company, which I know sounds like so silly to a certain portion of your audience, but
No, Greece doesn't have Amazon either. So
it's like, it's just weird. Like, you feel like helpless. Like, my printer broke and I work from home and I needed it. And I was like, oh, I'll just order one and have it shipped. And I couldn't. And I had to like drive to a shopping mall, and then I had to try to find a printer. It was like very just interesting because everyone says how much they hate Amazon here, and everyone complains and complains and complains. Most of those people still use it when they need it. Like, so, it's like a very fake thing. So yeah, that was interesting. Um, Everyone stares at you. This is the same in Cuba. I just want to, because I've been to Cuba. So this is very popular in Latin American countries too, but I was not expecting it in Thailand because since they care about feet, and since they care about like, how you like hold food and pass things, like, I thought they would care about staring, but they don't. So I was stared at relentlessly, not because they never see white people, just because they're staring at me. And so
okay.
what's weird though is you're allowed to stare back. So after a while, it's a really fun vacation because you're allowed to stare at strangers. Like, you can study them. I wouldn't take out a notepad, like that would be a little weird, and I would definitely not photograph them. But yeah, you could just stare at someone. You could stare at an ugly person, an attractive person, this person or that. It doesn't matter. Like, there's no one's gonna care. No one's gonna accuse you of staring. You are staring. They are staring. It is okay to stare. So that was,
Cool.
yeah.
Very
And
nice.
this is the second to last one. I don't know what it's like in the cultures. You've lived in many cultures. So, but in America, when you sneeze, people are supposed to say something. What they say changes. Some people say, God bless you. Some people say, bless you. Some people say, gesundheit. But the point is, it's this weird, stupid thing but you're used to it. And so in Thailand, they don't say anything. And it's very weird to say something because then you're calling attention to the fact that somebody sneezed, which would be rude. because why would you say that? So I had to like, when someone would sneeze, and then meanwhile, when I would sneeze, I'd look around and be like, what? Come on. Like, you know, did
Nobody's
anyone
giving
see
me
that?
health.
Yeah. So yeah, no one's giving me it. You're so funny. That's awesome. And then the last one, I brought it up, but I want to read how I wrote it because I wrote it right when I lived there. Um, so I'm just going to read what I wrote this note.
Sure.
When you order food, you order enough for everyone. And then when the food comes, you serve yourself as much as you want. So you take the dish you ordered for the table, but you take it first and you take as much as you want. And then if that runs out, you just ask if anyone wants more. And if even one person wants a little more, you order an entire another order. You can use any utensil you want to serve food, including the one you're eating with, which is, according to Americans, disgusting and how germs spread. But also, they had like less COVID problems than we did. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. Maybe we don't know everything we think we know. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but they didn't actually have the same problem we have. And they are a culture that pushes and shoves. And I think it's because they wear masks when they're sick and they're used to like, yeah. So, but I'm only pointing this out because when I tell Americans that you can take like your fork and then serve someone else rice with it, they're just like, that's disgusting and it's stupid and they must be sick all the time. And I'm like, no. And then, like I said, you never ask if you can take the first or the last of something. It's weird to ask, and it's always okay to use your hands. So you can, if you don't like using forks and knives, you can just use your hands in Thailand. No one cares. I love that. I'm a very relaxed person, and I just think when you're eating, you should just have fun. So Thailand is the most fun place for an eating trip. Like, you know, Italy and Thailand, if you can pull it off where you go to those two, I would just say that's it. And then maybe a third stop in Japan. I would say those are my three favorite food stops I've ever been to.
Cool. Thanks a lot for all of that information. That was incredible. And thanks
Awesome.
for preparing it. Yeah, just taking a quick look into the time, I will like to do a couple of questions. I received a little bit more, but we don't really have the time for it from a couple of listeners who I asked
Sure, whatever you want.
for the questions for it. And Albertillan through Instagram sent me a question. What is the weirdest word or phrase that you know in Thai?
Gosh, oh, I wish I'd prepared for this. I was going to review my vocabulary. I have to go with, I think, just farong because it's blatant open racism. I just think I'm going to use that one. Just because it's like, I was in Japan and they do the same thing, Gaijin, foreigner. Like, you know, it's like, if in America we referred to people the way that these countries referred to us, we would be like, you know, well, maybe we'd be president. I don't know. But the point is, sorry, I had to go there.
No, that's good.
But the point I'm trying to make is it was just weird to have like that open thing. But the one of the things I would always tell my students in America, so now I'm talking about teaching Americans as an American teacher, is Asian people don't feel like a minority in Asia because not only are they not a minority, but they literally are 2/5 of the world's population by most estimates. So, like 1/5 of the world is probably black, 1/5 is white, and 2/5 is Asian. So they outnumber all other races by their perspective. So that's part of why they don't mind hegemony and like, and so that would be
nice. So maybe the second question that I will take, it's from Technique Seek 43 in YouTube. YouTube names are always weird. What is your favorite non-touristic food in Thailand, or what do you miss the more food-wise in the USA from Thailand?
You can get it in the United States, but I would like sticky rice, the actual just thing that is called sticky rice. While you can get it in America, it's so like unique and interesting the way you use it to eat food in Thailand. So I would say that's something I miss in America like that. And then as far as like specifically in America, you cannot get good Isan food. There's like one place in a part in San Francisco I found that is in the most dangerous section of town because like the immigrants who moved there are like very poor and it's all they could afford. I'm sure it's closed by now. It was like barely staying open in the 2013. There's Isan is the northeast region that borders Laos, and that's all Thai people's favorite food is Isan food. Central Bangkok food is like a laughing joke to them, and that's what like pad Thai is. So I've never in my life ever seen pad Thai on a menu in Thailand, let alone seen anyone talk about it or order it. It's like they don't even get it. They don't even think it's famous. For some reason, whoever came to America and popularized Thai food thought pad Thai would work. The drunken noodle is pretty similar in both countries. if you like that one. But yeah, I miss the Isan. Like, it just is, it's unique and it's flavored and it's spicy different. And I have to be careful. I get good food in America by Thai people, but I'm convinced that because we don't grow Thai food like plants the way they grow it there, I think that's the problem. And that's what I read about everything. That's like even Italian food here. Like, unless you get the same grains that weren't Monsanto seeds, you know what I mean? Like, there's a big issue with production and Monsanto and all these things that I think is actually why Thai food isn't as good in America. So.
Makes sense. So, Mike, before we wrap up a little bit, of course, I want to give you the floor to where people can find your work, if you have any project that you want to share with the audience, and even if they want to contact you, because this conversation has been very interesting. So I suppose there will be some people interested in knowing about your life. Where can people find you or find your projects?
Yeah, as I hope was obvious through this interview, I'm a happy, friendly, nice person who loves to help people. I was a teacher. I still love teaching. So if anyone wants to reach me, I have a website, mikeyopp.com. It's a combination of my first and last name. So MikeYopp.com. And if you go there, not only can you subscribe to my like free service where I send a once a week email, which is usually an essay or a nonfiction or fiction story, but I also host a podcast called Coffin Talk, where we talk about the meaning of death, which is how people think death works and then how that affects how they're living. But also to your point, if you just have a question, you don't need to subscribe or anything like that. You can just write me. I am, like I said, always happy to help someone. So I do have a career. I do want to promote my career. So please do so if you like me and like the way I talk. But with that said, it is not rude to contact me with just a question. Hey, I'm going to Thailand, blah, blah, blah. So both are fine with me. But I can be reached at mikeyopp.com. And I am thrilled to have been on this podcast. I go on a lot of podcasts. You care more than most people. You try harder and you do a great job. And I just want to thank you. It was really nice. I felt like humbled and also excited to come on your podcast today. You actually cared. You sent me like an outline. You asked good questions. I ended up doing research. So keep doing what you're doing. It does matter.
Thanks a lot, Mike. I really appreciate it. Of course, for all the audience, the website will be available on the description of the episode. Do you have any funny or unexpected story, a quick one for finishing the episode with before we close?
Yeah.
Something that you have in mind.
Yeah, I think it would be the time I was learning Thai, and they didn't think I was learning it well, the family I was with, and we were on a long drive, and they started talking about me, and I knew what they were saying, and I knew it wasn't nice, and so I said in like a very fluent Thai phrase, I said, I understand you, and that wasn't nice. And I've never seen people get scared like that in my life, and it was the most thrilling, powerful moment of my weird life there ever, because I felt like they deserved it. Like, I really think it's mean to talk about people in front of them. I just do. And like, that's not a Thai thing. That's not something they did a lot. I'm not saying they were always doing it, but on that trip, they were doing it a lot, and I didn't like it. And so that was my funny story, is like, it worked. And so my tip to someone would be is memorize how to say that, even if it's not true. Just like for a taxi cab or anything else, just memorize how to say, I understood all of that. Don't do the second part, because you have to know if it was nice or not. They might be saying nice things about you, just to warn you.
Oh, but if you say that I understood everything and they said nice things, they will laugh, and that's it. The effect will not be bad, so that's okay. Yeah. Well, Mike, that is an incredible, insightful conversation. I love talking with you. I really, really enjoyed this episode. I hope our listeners also did. As always, don't forget to subscribe, share this episode, check Mike's work out. And until then, keep exploring, stay curious, and see you in the next episode.